I was holding a crystal trophy with my name engraved on it. World Dance Awards, Best Choreographer of the Year. 10,000 people in the audience were screaming. And all I could think about was my high school dance teacher sitting in the back row, watching the girl she said would never make it accept the highest honor in professional dance. I'm Valeria Santos, and this is the story of how I went from being told I was too fat to dance to standing on stage as the most awarded choreographer of the decade. Hit subscribe and drop where you're watching from, because this journey was absolutely insane. I was 6 years old when I discovered dance. My mom took me to a local cultural festival in our neighborhood in Brooklyn, and there was this performance. Hip-hop dancers doing things I'd never seen. Power, energy, freedom. Something in my chest just exploded. I begged my mom for dance classes. She worked 2 jobs. Money was tight, but she found a community program that was affordable. Ballet, jazz, contemporary. I took everything they offered. From day one, I was different. While other girls were skinny and delicate, I was solid, thick, taking up space. But I was also fast. I picked up choreography like I'd been doing it my whole life. My musicality was natural. My movements had this quality that made teachers stop mid-instruction to watch. My first teacher, Ms. Rivera, told my mom I had it. That thing you can't teach. She said if I worked hard, really hard, I could go far. I believed her. For exactly 4 years. Age 10. My mom saved for months to get me into a prestigious dance academy, the kind that fed into professional companies and competitive circuits. I walked in wearing my best leotard, ready to show them what I could do. The director's name was Elena Volkov, former principal dancer with a major ballet company, the kind of credentials that made every serious dancer want to train with her. I auditioned, nailed every combination. My technique was clean. My extensions were strong. I had more control than girls twice my age. After the audition, Elena called my mother into her office. I was changing, but I heard every word through the thin walls. She told my mom I had talent, real talent, but she needed to be honest. Professional dance was a brutal industry. Dancers needed specific body types. I would need to lose at least 40 pounds if I wanted any chance at a real career. Otherwise, I was wasting everyone's time and money. She said it kindly, like she was doing us a favor. My mom grabbed my hand and we left. She never said a word about what happened, but I'd heard everything, and suddenly the thing I loved most felt like something I wasn't allowed to have. I kept dancing, at home, in my room, at Miss Rivera's community center, but I stopped telling people about my dreams. When kids at school asked what I wanted to be, I'd shrug and say maybe a teacher or something. Anything but the truth. Freshman year, I auditioned for the school dance team. I was better than half the girls who made it. Everyone watching knew it. But the coach pulled me aside after and said they were looking for a cohesive look, and I wouldn't fit the team's image. She suggested I try stage crew instead, said I could help with costumes. I went home and cried for 3 hours. But sophomore year, something shifted. We had a talent show. Miss Rivera basically forced me to enter. She said I'd been hiding long enough. I choreographed a solo, contemporary piece to this incredible song about resilience. I put everything into it. Every rejection. Every time someone looked at me like I didn't belong. Every moment of loving something that didn't seem to love me back. Performance night, I was shaking. The whole school was there. Everyone would see me. Everyone would judge. But when that music started, everything disappeared. There was just movement and truth and this feeling of absolute freedom. I finished. The auditorium went silent for maybe 5 seconds. Then everyone lost it. Standing ovation. People were crying. The entire place was on its feet. I won first place by unanimous decision. But more than winning, I remembered something crucial. When I danced, really danced, nothing else mattered. Not my size, not their opinions, just the pure truth of movement. Senior year, I applied to every major dance conservatory in the country, schools that claimed to value innovation and artistic vision. I sent audition videos that were technically flawless, that showed artistry most professionals didn't have. I got rejected from all 12 schools I applied to. Most didn't even invite me to audition in person. One school sent a letter saying my technical skills were impressive, but they didn't feel I'd be competitive in the current professional landscape. Translation: my body was wrong. I ended up at a state university, not because I wanted to, because it was the only place that would take me as a dance major. The program was small, underfunded, taught in a basement studio with water-stained ceilings. But the director, Professor Marcus Chen, was different from any teacher I'd ever had. First day, he looked at our class of maybe 20 students and said something that changed my entire perspective. He said dance wasn't about fitting a mold. It was about breaking every mold that had ever existed. He said the dance world had spent a century worshiping one aesthetic, and it had made dance boring, predictable, and dishonest. He said we were going to do something radically different. For the first time since I was 6, someone with authority actually saw me as a legitimate artist. Professor Chen pushed me harder than anyone ever had, not to lose weight, not to conform, to become technically perfect, to develop a style that was uniquely mine, to become so skilled that no one could dismiss me. He made me study everything: classical ballet, modern, contemporary, hip-hop, African dance, Brazilian, ballroom. He said versatility was power. He also showed me choreographers I'd never learned about, artists who'd broken rules and redefined what dance could be, people who'd created space where none existed. Junior year, he told me something that became my entire philosophy. He said the industry would never hand me opportunities. I'd have to create them. I'd have to become so extraordinary that they couldn't ignore me. So that's what I did. I started creating my own work, filming it, posting it online, building an audience of people who wanted to see dance that looked different. My videos started getting attention. Thousands of views became hundreds of thousands. Dance blogs featured my work. People were calling it fresh, innovative, necessary. But I was also getting hate. Vicious comments saying I was destroying dance, that I was promoting unhealthy lifestyles, that I should be ashamed to call myself a dancer. The hate nearly broke me, but Professor Chen said something crucial. He said hate meant I was threatening something, that I was forcing people to confront biases they'd never questioned, and that was exactly what great art did. After graduation, I moved to Los Angeles, the entertainment capital. Also, the most image-obsessed city in America. I was 22, broke, sleeping on a friend's couch, working as a barista to survive. I auditioned for everything: commercial work, music videos, live shows, backup dancer positions. I walked into rooms and watched faces change when they saw me. Sometimes they'd let me dance anyway. Usually they'd thank me and move on before I'd even started. I got rejected 143 times. I counted because each rejection felt like confirmation that everyone had been right, that I should have quit years ago. But I kept training. Classes every single day, multiple classes. I made myself technically flawless, undeniable. And I kept creating, choreographing pieces, filming them, building my online presence. My following grew. A few thousand became tens of thousands. Then hundreds of thousands. I was creating content that celebrated different body types in dance, showing that technique and artistry had nothing to do with size. My videos were getting millions of views. But the professional industry still wouldn't touch me. They didn't care about my online success. They cared about their narrow aesthetic. until I decided to stop waiting for them to choose me. Year 3 in LA, I'd saved enough money from bartending and teaching private lessons to rent a small studio space for 1 month. I decided to create a showcase, my own evening of choreography. I'd invite industry people, press, anyone who'd come. I choreographed 6 pieces, different styles, all deeply personal, all technically complex, all designed to prove that my body could do everything traditional dancers could do. I found 5 other dancers who didn't fit the industry mold. Different sizes, different ages, different abilities. We trained for 2 months straight. I sent invitations to every choreographer, director, agent, and dance critic in LA. Most ignored it. A few said they'd try to make it. The night of the showcase, I was terrified. We'd rented a tiny theater that held maybe 200 people. I'd be lucky if 50 showed up. 73 people came, including 3 major choreographers, 2 casting directors, and a critic from a prominent dance publication. We performed everything we'd prepared. 6 pieces, 45 minutes of nonstop dancing. We left everything on that stage. When we finished, the applause was immediate and loud. People were standing. A few were crying. But what happened next changed everything. One of the choreographers, a woman named Michelle Torres who'd worked on dozens of major tours and award shows, came backstage. She told me that was some of the most innovative choreography she'd seen in years. She asked if I'd be interested in assistant choreographing an upcoming awards show. I thought she was joking. She wasn't. That awards show was my entry into the professional world. I wasn't the lead choreographer. I was assisting. But I was there, in the room, proving I belonged. Michelle taught me everything about working at that level, the politics, the pressure, the precision required. But she also protected me from people who questioned why I was there. After that show, my phone started ringing. Not for performing, for choreography. Small projects at first, music videos for emerging artists, corporate events, industry showcases. But I treated every single project like it was the Super Bowl halftime show. I brought innovation. I brought technical excellence. I brought vision that nobody else had. My reputation grew. The dancer who creates unforgettable movement. The choreographer who makes every project better. The artist who brings something fresh. 2 years later, I got offered the lead choreographer position for a major music festival. 3 days of performances. Dozens of artists, millions watching online. I was 27 years old. And I was getting opportunities that dancers trained at elite conservatories would kill for. But I also got something else. Hate. So much hate. People saying I only got hired because of diversity quotas, that I was ruining dance, that I was promoting obesity, that I didn't deserve to be there. The hate was louder than ever, but so was the support. Dancers from around the world were messaging me saying I'd given them hope, that seeing me succeed made them believe again. I realized something important. I wasn't just building a career, I was changing what people thought was possible. Year 5 of my professional career, I created a full-length dance production, a company of 20 dancers, all different body types. 2 acts exploring themes of identity, rejection, and reclaiming space. I poured every dollar I'd saved into it, rented a legitimate theater, hired professional dancers, created costumes, marketed it properly. We sold out 6 shows in LA. Then we got picked up for a tour. New York, Chicago, Atlanta, San Francisco, Seattle. Critics were calling it groundbreaking, revolutionary, the future of dance. We were getting standing ovations in every city. But more importantly, after every show, people would wait outside to tell me their stories, how they'd been told to quit, how they'd hidden their passion, how seeing us had changed something fundamental. Then I got the call. The World Dance Awards. the most prestigious recognition in professional dance. They wanted to nominate me for Best Choreographer. I'd be up against choreographers who'd worked with the biggest names in entertainment, people who'd been in the industry for decades, legends. I didn't think I had a chance, but being nominated felt like validation, like proof that I'd made it despite everything. The World Dance Awards were held in New York at the Beacon Theater, the biggest night in dance. Every major choreographer, dancer, director, and company from around the world would be there. I flew in 2 days early, got a dress that made me feel powerful, prepared myself to lose graciously to people who'd accomplished more. The night of the ceremony, I was sitting in my seat trying not to throw up from nerves. My category was towards the end of the show. I had to sit through 2 hours of watching other people win. Then something happened that I wasn't prepared for. They showed a video package for the Best Choreographer category, clips from all 5 nominees' work. When mine came on screen, the audience reacted. Gasps. Applause during the video. That never happened. The presenter came out to announce the winner. She opened the envelope, looked at the name, and smiled in this way that made my heart stop. She said my name. Valeria Santos, Best Choreographer. For a second, I thought I'd heard wrong, but people around me were standing, applauding. Someone was pulling me to my feet. I walked to that stage in complete shock, took the crystal trophy, stood at the microphone in front of 10,000 people, and had absolutely no idea what to say. I looked out at that audience. Every face I'd admired my entire career, dancers I'd studied, choreographers who'd influenced my work, the entire professional dance community. And I saw her, Elena Volkov, the teacher who'd told my mom I needed to lose weight or quit. She was sitting near the back, and she was crying. I don't know what came over me, but I started talking. I said when I was 10 years old, someone told me I was too big to be a dancer, that my body was wrong for this art form, that I should quit before I wasted everyone's time. I said I almost believed them, that I almost let someone else's limited vision become my reality. But I didn't, because I loved dance too much, because movement was the language my soul spoke, because I knew that dance wasn't about having the right body, it was about having something to say and the courage to say it. I said I'd spent 15 years being rejected, being told I didn't belong, being dismissed before I'd even started. But every rejection made me work harder, train more, become more skilled, develop a vision that was undeniably mine. I said this award wasn't just for me, it was for every dancer who'd been told they were too much or not enough, too big, too small, too old, too young, too different. It was proof that excellence has nothing to do with appearance, that artistry can't be contained by narrow standards, that the only limitations that matter are the ones we accept. The audience stood up. Everyone. The applause was deafening. I looked at Elena Volkov again. She was still crying, but she was also standing, clapping. After the ceremony, there was a reception. I was surrounded by people congratulating me, choreographers I'd idolized, dancers whose careers I'd followed. Everyone wanted to talk. Then Elena Volkov approached. I saw her coming and my entire body tensed. She stood in front of me, tears still in her eyes, and said she needed to tell me something. She said she'd been wrong, completely, fundamentally wrong. That she'd spent her career enforcing standards that ultimately harmed dance. That she'd discouraged countless talented dancers because they didn't fit her narrow vision. She said watching my work over the years, seeing me succeed, seeing me win the highest honor in professional dance, had forced her to confront every assumption she'd ever had. She said I'd proved that she'd confused dance with a specific aesthetic, that real dance transcended appearance, That talent, vision, and dedication mattered infinitely more than body type. She apologized, actually apologized, for the damage she'd done, for almost convincing me to quit. I didn't know what to say. Part of me was still that 10-year-old girl hearing those words through the studio wall. But another part, the woman holding a trophy that said Best Choreographer, understood that she was offering something real. I told her I forgave her. Because holding on to that anger would only hurt me. Because she'd taught me something valuable even if she didn't mean to. She'd taught me that other people's limitations didn't have to be mine. Here's what nobody tells you about achieving an impossible dream. It doesn't erase the pain of getting there. All those rejections still happened. All those people who said I'd never make it still said it. But standing on that stage, holding that trophy, proved something crucial. They were wrong. Not because I changed, but because I refused to. I didn't lose weight to fit their standards. I didn't modify my body to make them comfortable. I didn't shrink myself to fit their narrow vision of what a dancer should be. Instead, I became so technically excellent they couldn't dismiss me. So innovative they needed what I created. So undeniable that their biases became irrelevant. That's the real lesson here. You can't control other people's prejudices. You can't make them see you differently. What you can control is becoming so extraordinary that their opinions don't matter. Every person watching this has been told something was impossible, that they weren't right for something, that their dreams didn't match their reality. The world told me I was too big to be a dancer. They were wrong. I wasn't too big. Dance was too small, too limited, too focused on appearance instead of artistry. So I made it bigger. I expanded what people thought was possible. I created space where none existed. And now I'm holding the trophy that says I'm the best in the world at what I do. I'm not going to lie to you. This journey was brutal. There were nights I cried myself to sleep, days I wanted to quit, moments I thought everyone else was right and I was delusional. But I kept going. Because quitting would have meant letting them win, letting their narrow vision of dance become the only vision. And I couldn't do that, not just for me. For every kid who's fallen in love with movement, but been told their body is wrong. For every dancer who's had to choose between their passion and other people's comfort. If you're watching this and you've been told you can't do something because of how you look, listen carefully. They're wrong. Not because your appearance doesn't matter in a world that's obsessed with it, but because your talent matters more. Your job isn't to convince them. Your job is to become so skilled, so dedicated, so innovative that you create your own opportunities, that you build your own platforms, that you make your own rules. Stop waiting for permission from people who'll never give it. Stop trying to fit into boxes designed to exclude you. Stop shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. Instead, become undeniable, become excellent, become so authentically yourself that the world has no choice but to make room. Train harder than anyone. Work longer, be more creative, not because you have something to prove, but because excellence is how you win. I'm Valeria Santos, World Dance Awards Best Choreographer. I've created work that's been seen by millions. I've changed minds about what dance can be. I've opened doors for dancers who look like me. I'm also plus size. I'm also someone who was told to quit at 10 years old. I'm also someone who got rejected 143 times before getting my first professional job. But those rejections don't define my story. My refusal to accept them does. They said I was too big to be a dancer, until the world called me the best. Not because I changed to fit their vision, but because I changed their vision of what was possible. Every limitation you've been given is just someone else's failure of imagination. Every door that's closed is just an opportunity to build your own entrance. Every person who says you can't is just someone who couldn't. Your dreams are valid. Your talent is real, and the only person who can stop you is you. So stop listening to people who want to make you smaller. Stop accepting limitations designed to exclude you. Stop waiting for permission that will never come. Instead, become so extraordinary they have to call you the best, because you are. If this story meant something to you, hit subscribe and tell me in the comments what you're fighting for. What dream you're refusing to give up on. I want to hear it. Thanks for watching. Now go prove them all wrong. Not for them, for you. And remember, they said it was impossible until you made it inevitable.